Hey everyone, it's Joe, your business broker from Legacy Entrepreneurs. One of the things that I get asked a lot, well, it's a concern that's expressed to me a lot is, well, Joe, if I sell my business, I'm going to get X price, and then I don't want to do that because then I'm going to have to pay all these taxes. It's not even worth me selling. Look, at the end of the day, death and taxes, right? So there's a certain amount of like, well, you will generate income from a sale after taxes more than if you just don't sell, right? Now, what the economics are for your situation depends, but there's definitely, an angst about, I don't want to pay taxes, less tax makes the sale more worthwhile. And sure, that don't totally makes sense. And so I've created a quick reference guide on some tax strategies that you can pursue or start thinking about ahead of a sale. And I wanted to share that with you today because I've got this as a resource on my website. It's available for you to grab and just have ready. Um, this is not tax advice. This is some ideas. It's a quick reference guide. You need to consult with an attorney or a CPA. All right, like I am just kind of giving an overview and trying to point you to some resources. So on the first page of this guide of tax strategies, things that you can do to maybe alleviate some of the tax burden of an exit, is I've outlined, these are the different types of entities that you could be, kind of what usually happens in a sale, your tax risk, and how you might be able to best mitigate that. And, what should you start thinking about today or early or ahead of a sale? And the takeaway from this is that, sure, your price matters, right? More price, more tax, but, the bigger lever to control ahead of time is what your entity structure is and how you're managing that entity. So cover page, all your entities and your biggest tax strategy. The next two pages are, this one is LLC and S-Corp, and then the next one is C-Corp. And then there are some strategies, for each type of entity that you can consider. Just to kind of orient you to the page, it's the strategy, it's kind of the plain English description of like, what does this mean? Who, you need to have involved, and then what you can be doing 3 years away, 3+ years away, 1 year away, 3 to 6 months away. So, early to time of sale. And the red bar is kind of like, this is kind of the latest that you can start thinking about this strategy and in making an impact for your potential sale. So for example, the kind of biggest risk in an LLC is what's called depreciation recapture. And so a lot of these strategies are kind of based around the idea that most LLCs are asset sales. And in an asset sale, the, physical things and tangible things have a, if they're on the books, they have a value. And oftentimes at the time of sale, they're at a higher value than what the tax basis of them is. And that difference is called depreciation recapture, and it's taxed at ordinary income versus capital gains. And so, capital gains is actually advantageous. You kind of want to have more capital gains in the allocation of a sale than ordinary income. And so there's strategies around like, how can we do that? And so that's, what a lot of these are kind of related to. And then the last one here is push for a stock sale. Like, this is very difficult, but my point, just to bring this up, is that you need to start doing this like 5 years away if that's how you want to try and manage it. But yeah, so strategies and how far in advance you can start, considering some of these as a tax strategy. For C Corp, one thing that you'll notice here is that you need to start, if you want to start thinking tax strategies for a C Corp, you need to start thinking 3+ years away. What I would say is that it's really 5 years away for a C Corp. But again, there are some kind of ideas in here of, things that I would say, if you're interested in it, you're considering a sale, you can talk to me and say, hey, Joe, like, this is what I'm thinking. And I can kind of help you, especially on like, what is the business worth question. But in the like, if you want to pursue a qualified small business stock, tax strategy, you need to talk to a CPA first. So again, I am not a tax expert and I am not providing tax advice. I am just trying to kind of give you some ideas and then be able to point you in the right direction. And that direction may be someone like Lance Mees or Gabby Parker at Artifact CPA and Genovations, respectively. Both of them contributed to this guide. So big shout out to the both of you and to Jake Matthew at Kiter CPA, who assisted in this as well. But at the end of this resource, you kind of have like you can reach out to them. They kind of provided really good feedback on this and helped me kind of refine it. And these folks are going to be the experts on doing this. And also, it was hard to fit everything into these tables, right? So I have some of their additional commentary on like tax strategies and advice in the back of this. So hope this guide is useful for you. And if you have any questions related to business exits, selling your business, what is it worth, reach out to me. If you're like, hey, who are CPAs I can talk to who are good to help me with tax strategies, you can reach out to the folks on this guide directly, or you can reach out to me and I can kind of make a warm introduction for you as well. So hopefully this kind of tutorial like video on this quick reference guide was helpful, and hopefully the guide is also helpful and kind of starts giving you some ideas of what you can do for an exit strategy.